Okay. You guys, there's chairs. Come sit. Pull chairs. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. You guys don't just have to stand by your chart. You can sit around here as you're reading. Get comfortable. Y'all, you can get comfortable. Sit around here. Unless you feel more comfortable standing up. When your group is ready, you're going to pick a person that's going to be your scriber, that's going to collect the big ideas that you're going to record on your chart paper. At this point, you should start collecting information and recording it on your chart paper. So I see my friend here that's got the highlighter that's standing up. You're the scriber for 4. Since you're standing up, I'm going to be a scriber for 5. You're right there ready, scriber for 1. And then my friend over back here that's sitting close to the chart, you're now the scriber. Calling it out. What did you guys notice about the section? What's going on in your stage? This is a hard one, isn't it? There's a lot. Syllable juncture in this one scares a lot of teachers because it really challenges us because it's not those things that we know right away unless you're a language-based person. And even looking at syllable juncture, polysyllabic words, even just a vocabulary, like polysyllabic. Okay, what does that mean? Double final affixes. So there's a number of different things. And so the book will support you through this part. Also very confusing for teachers is the accented versus unaccented syllables and how it impacts words. And that you'll find a lot on syllable juncture. Give you all just about 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes. One more minute, actually less than a minute. Finishing your thoughts. Okay, scribers, I want you to look at your group. I want you to find one person that you're going to give your pen to. You are passing your torch. Passing the torch. Passing the torch. Whoever you pass your torch to is now going to stand up next to that. And I need you guys, I have a microphone so you can hear me, but I'm going to come to you so that we can hear what your team came up with. So we'll start with emergent. You guys don't have to move unless you want to move and see her, but I'm going to just come over here. We're going to just present from where we're at. Okay, tell us about emergent readers.
So this is usually on the preschool to kindergarten level, and they're beginning to notice the print and writing letters. This is kind of the first stage, the pre-phonetic. And then they begin to notice the beginning and ending consonant sounds, and that's in semi-phonetic. And they're still not putting spaces between words, so you'll see all the words, all the letters together. and it's all, in this stage, the oral language development is vital. They need to see, this is where they develop the writing to speech and the speech to print. So they're reading and they're sounding out the words, and then they're saying words and learning how to put them on paper. And then the vocabulary is really critical with these kids. And they also need to see a lot of words. So they need to be read to a lot so they can see words and be able to see how this word, read, is R-E-D, and they can see the sounds read. And then also they have to, like I was saying, the letter sound has to match the spoken word, so they need to be able to point to where they are in the book or where they are in the story.
So having words like school that's not phonetically based will not be a good idea, right? So you want it to be directly related to what they're seeing. So phonics-based words, okay? Group, do you have anything else to add?
I want to add on the vocabulary. Do I need that? For the vocabulary development, they're recommending read alouds, retelling stories, and listening to stories from other students.
So oral language development is huge. It doesn't matter if you're in a dual language classroom, it's what kids need, right? So very, very important. Thank you for adding that. Okay, moving on to 2. Who did we hand our torch to? Y'all are like, don't make eye contact. Okay, so she's like, I'll be the scriber and the talker.
No, they all scribed. They all scribed. Yeah. Okay, ours is the letter name stage, and basically this is beginning readers. It's first grade and first half of second grade stage. They have recently achieved a concept of words just as the emergent stage, and they have started to read. And the gist of it is that they rely on the name of the letters to spell, basically. For example, bake, they would spell it B, and they would put the B, A, and then K, so they would spell it B-A-K. So that is just relying on the letters of the names of the words. And also, it's writing is labor intensive, and we use the example in the book, and one of our scribers pointed out that she actually does this in her class, where she starts the class by using sentence starters, and all of the students as a whole start a story, and then she tells the rest of the class, okay, now you go ahead and finish your own story. So then after that, it's independent writing, but she'll get them started. Just because at this stage, it's really hard for the students to write. Like, they don't know what to write, they don't have any ideas, so that's a good way to start getting them to write. Also, it includes the following features, where initial and the final consonants and the initial consonant blends is a confusion for them. For example, cat could be spelled as K-A-T, and sad could be spelled as C-A-D, as opposed to the actual initial consonant, because it's confusing to them. Short vowels are written with substitutions. So, for example, pet could be spelled as P-A-T, and fit could be spelled as F-E-T. So just the short vowels are confusing to them, or they just get those confused. And lastly, the final consonant blends are often incomplete. So, for example, bump could be spelled as B-O-P, so they miss the MP, and dish would be spelled as D-I-S, so they skip the S-H.
A lot of times the clue for you all as you're looking at your student spelling, it is using but confusing. And so if they're using something but they're confusing how they use it, that's a huge tall tale sign that that's where they're at. Okay, nice job. Anybody else? Anything to add? Any questions? Okay, let's move on down. Getting my steps in today. Oh, you're my person here? Okay, I'm gonna get on your person.
Okay, we're working with Within Word, and what we have come together as a group to discuss was the development grades were from second grade to third grade, and some of the tendencies were that the students at this level, they're into chapter books because of the automatic sight recognition for sight words. It becomes automatic to them, and also the increase of fluency. They start the year where you can hear them. They're kind of noisy as they read, but as the year go on, they become more and more silent as readers. And when it comes to writing, they're recognizing the audience as they write. Some of the vowels that we're looking at is substitutions decrease. Long vowels appear more often. And within words patterns, we found 5 different ones. The controlled vowel pattern, that's one example. The other one is other common long vowels, such as AI together, AY, EE, abstract vowels, which you'll see in cow or few, and then complex consonant patterns, as well as vowel consonant E patterns. They're frequently seen and read, recognized at this grade level.
So one of the things that comes up, usually second grade at this level, specifically this other common long vowel patterns, it becomes very important. So if I want you to say the long A sound, and we say that it can be spelled outside of the A consonant E, could be spelled with an AI or an AY. Those are your sorts for your kids. But what do you think would happen if I told my kids that if you have a long A sound at a end of a word, it's always, always spelled with AY? Do you think that's powerful information for kids? So if you're going to spell tray, say the word tray. Hear the A sound at the end. Know that when you hear the long A sound at the end of a word, it's going to be spelled with AY. That's huge for kids. I would have wanted, especially as second language learner, I would have really wanted somebody to tell me that little secret. There's a lot of what we call little secrets that help our kids. Even the difference between the soft sound of C and the soft sound of, C and G, whether or not does it say an S or a K, it all depends on the vowel that it's followed. We're going to move on to the next one, which is really talking about syllable juncture. Sorry, sweetheart. Okay, I've just moved away. Does anybody have in this group anything to add to that? Okay, grades 2 through 4th. 2 through 4th.
This is syllable juncture, and it's usually in the intermediate grade, so I would say 5th, 6th. And they're usually proficient readers. Their focus is polysyllabic words, which is multiple syllables in a word. This is where they also really emphasize bringing their reading and writing together, and they'll be writing in different genres: persuasive, informational, descriptive, narrative writing. One of their focuses is a double final consonant. They're learning whether or not with the word hopping, is it 1 P or 2 Ps? Because of course we know that it changes the word, hopping to hoping. They also concentrate on affixes, and then they also focus on the syllable stress. We have the example, which is contain or villain, just where the stress goes on the syllable of the word.
One of the big pieces that you're going to get in this section is the ED and ING, adding the suffix ED and ING. Now, some kids do not know why is it that we say, when we say walked, some of them will say walked, so the T and the T and the D sound. Okay, so here's a little bit of a secret. I want you to say the word hop for me. Now I want you to say the hop as a past tense for me. So it makes the t sound, right? So before you added the ed, what was the last sound of that word? It has the hop, right? I want you to put your hand on your throat for me and say, did you just like you have a popcorn on the between your lips, and the sound of the P is actually like you have a popcorn stuck between your two lips and you're going. Do you feel any vibration? So the last syllable, the last consonant that you're adding to, if it's what's called an unvoiced sound, you don't feel the vibration, the ed is always going to be with the sound of T. Okay. Okay, so let's use another word. Walked. Okay. Now isolate the K sound. K, k. It's coming from the back of your throat, but you're not feeling a vibration here. So it's called an unvoiced sound. So an unvoiced sound, the last consonant sound that you hear that's unvoiced, the ed is always going to be read with a T. So give me a word where the ed has the D sound. Saved. Okay, saved. It makes a D. Okay, so now I want you, the last sound, last consonant sound is what? V, right? Now say V. V. Feel the vibration? So when you feel that vibration, it's called a voiced sound. Therefore, the ed is going to make the D sound. There's a secret to it. And our kids don't know that when they're reading that, that could be things where they're feeling kinds of pieces that help our kids. Okay? Thank you. Any additions here? Yeah. Yeah, because they feel like, oh, that's because that's, yeah. Okay, last one, y'all. Derivational constancy, DC.
Okay, so derivational constancy, the first one, well, first of all, it's normally 5th and 6th, even up until adulthood. It's silent and sounded consonants, like our example is hasten and haste, the difference between having the T and not. And then consonant changes for presume and presumption. Then vowel changes like volcano and volcanic. Assimilated prefixes / Latin derived suffixes like illiterate. So in plus literate equals illiterate, and how it takes the in out. And invisible, INVISIBLE, compared to INVISABLE. And last but not least, Greek and Latin roots, like the root rupt means break, like in bankrupt or abrupt. Anything else, Mike?
Anything to add? How many of you guys kind of listen to that and you're like, okay, whatever. It's okay. It's okay. When you get to that point, at this point at the beginning of the year, you're going to have a very limited amount of kids. And so I know that as a trainer for our district, that's a place that I need to spend some time with through your instructional coach, giving them some clues so that if you have kids that are at this level, we're going to talk about that. For right now, I just want you to know there's a 5th stage, but there is a very limited amount of kids that are going to be here. Okay? All righty. Any questions? All righty, let's go back to where we're at. Let's look at Mrs. Nelson's class. Okay, so what you're going to need is your class summary sheet. I see somebody's spiral back here. So if you're looking for your spiral, it looks like there's one at the back table. Yes. Yeah, there's a number of extras there. And what you're going to go ahead and do for me is you want to make sure you have some kind of writing instrument. We're going to correct some papers. So if you have a special correcting paper pen, I guess you take that out. You're going to, and it's the stapled packet that you came and picked up this morning. And so we've got Mrs. Nelson's class. This is Mrs. Nelson's class. And in Mrs. Nelson's class, during our literacy academies for pre-K, kinder, first, and second, we use the same students for those trainings. So we have Amazing Grace, Amelia Bedelia, BB Wolf, Christopher Robin, Clifford Red Dog, Curious George, Fancy Nancy, and so on. Okay, so these are the students that Mrs. Nelson has. So what I've wanted you guys to go from here is this morning we talked about just a general idea of what word study is, right? And then we moved on and we just did a box top. I went up here and said there's 5 different stages. And then we went through and we talked about this student's stage of development, which we say is also their instructional level. And then we started going through and being able to look at your book, looking at the different components. And then from your book, now you're going to go ahead and assess your students. And when we were marking through your book, you would have gone to page 81 in your book, page 81 in your book, and you would have stood in front of your class and you would have read the direction exactly as it says on page 81. I am going to say some words that I want you to spell for me. Some of the words will be easy to spell and some will be more difficult. When you don't know how to spell a word, just do the best you can. Each time I will say the word, then use it in a sentence, and then say the word again. So that's what you're going to go ahead and do. So your whole class is now given page 371, which is your recording sheet, right? That says Form A. So prior to you testing, you would have made copies of that sheet for your kids. Do you have to use that sheet that is in the back of the book? I wish I would have used this sheet with my students because it has all the coding already on it. And it is so much easier. But Mrs. Nelson's class that we're going to be looking at, if you look at the date, it says June 2014. These are kids that are actually kids in our district. And in June 2014, I had a group of teachers administer it for me for training purposes. So I said, just administer it for your kids, and then I want to use that for training purposes. So I whited out the student's name, and then I put in Mrs. Nelson's class. So these are actual GPISD kids. When we're done, I'm going to ask you what grade level you think these kiddos are at. So don't tell me until we've gone through it. So Miss Nelson administered the test, and so she went ahead and said, boys and girls, number 1 is jet. The jet made a safe landing, jet. And I know that seems common sense, but I've been in classroom where teachers would say, jet. The jet made a safe landing. Boys and girls, the word is jet. Please do not do that. Just give them the word jet. The jet made a safe landing, jet. You don't need to have to stretch and slide it for them. They'll do that in their head just so that it's consistent. Okay, so read the word, use it in a sentence, and read the word. So she did this with her class, Miss Nelson. And so Miss Nelson collected all of those, stapled it together, and is now what you have with you here. So you can see that she administered letter name on June 16th. And then I went ahead and say, can you do me a favor on the following day? So on the back of that paper, you're going to see June 17th, and you're going to see within Word. I created this paper with my students. I like the lined aspect of it, but there's a lot of pieces that I wish I would have had her paper. But I'm glad to know that we're kind of heading in the same direction. And so what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to take this paper. You're going to also take her class summary sheet. And if you have your laptop and you're a technology person, you can have your recording sheet right on your computer if you want to use that. Okay, so if you have the recording sheet that I sent. There's a couple of y'all that came and stopped me and said that you think you have the old one. I updated this, so now it should say beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, and then all of your students afterwards. You don't ever have to do anything with these because they're automatically populated. So you're going to go to here, beginning of the year, and then you would put in your students' information. So I'm going to kind of be going back and forth on this. And so I'll have my recording sheet, paper and pencil, if that makes it easy for you. There's a lot of extras there. And then you need your Amazing Grace. And then you also need to go and open up your book so that you have page 86 open. Okay, page 86 open. Okay, this is how I would grade each of these. The way that I am training our district to grade the paper is not the same as the book. So if you're using it the way that, because you've not gone to training prior to, so you started grading it, it will not make sense to you. That's why I've had to pull away from the book. It's based on feedback from classroom teachers. So I'm training you the way that's worked and made sense for teachers, just to simplify it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and layer paper next side by side like this. And so I would say, okay, first word is jet. Look at the word jet and kind of look at it closely. There's actually a letter that's underlined there. What do you notice? What letter is underlined? J. Notice the letter right next to it? That means that is pattern D. What's pattern D? Affricate. And so this is where we're looking at the affricate sounds. The DR to J, the J to DR, the TR to CH, the CH to TR. And so here for our friend Amazing Grace, did she spell it correctly? Okay, so some of you guys are looking at this and you're saying, but it's a capital letter. We do not mark out for the inventory capital letters at the beginning. Now if you want to do that in class is after you've given your kids practice and you want to hold your students accountable for that, go for it. But for the assessment part, the inventory, we do not mark out capital letters, okay? The other big piece is that we do not count off of reversals for B to D, P to a Q. We do not count off reversals for B to a D, P to a Q. Because you're going to see that on some of these. Okay, so I'm going to go on. Jet, is it spelled correctly? Yes. Normally what I do with this is now I write D next to it. See how this, the recording sheet that she has in the back of the book is so much easier because it already has the D on there. So I would have marked D off. How about the next one? What's the word? Ship. And it is supposed to be SH. It doesn't have the SH, but it's just wrong. So I'm going to rewrite the correct word, ship. Why am I writing the correct word next to it? Because if I'm having to sit down next to a parent or I'm bringing this out to an RTI and all I have is the word sip, you may not remember that that baby was trying to write the word ship. You can look at that and go, oh gosh, I must have made a mistake. And then, but it's so much easier to just rewrite the correct word. That is the letter B. Next one is what? Bet. Does Amazing Grace have that right? Yes. How about got? How about cap? Okay, normally I'd be writing the letters, but because your copy in the back of your book already does that, I'm not going to have you do that, okay?
Go back to just real quick. What do they spell S-H-E-P?
We'll come back to that, okay? So right now we're just looking to see whether or not it's wrong or right. Wrong or right. So here we got bet, bet, got, cap, cap. Number 6 is what? Drum. Baby wrote what? Dorm. So we're going to mark it wrong. We're going to rewrite it the correct way. And what letter goes next to that? D. Next one is supposed to be bump. She put bop. So we're going to mark that wrong. We're going to rewrite the correct word bump. And we're going to put the letter E. Number 8 is much. And it looks like she erased it and then she rewrote it, and it is M-U-C-H. Okay, sometimes it's hard to read it. Number 9 is with. Number 10 is map. Number 11 is what? Hop. And baby wrote what? Thops. So we're going to mark it wrong, and we're going to rewrite it hop. And what letter goes with that? C. Baby wrote the word plan right. That. Is that correct? Yes. Slid. Number 15 is what? Mud. Baby wrote what? Mold. So we're crossing that out. We're rewriting it. And what letter goes with that? C. The other plus on your paper is on my line paper, I stop at 13. Her paper is completely aligned just to where it goes from 1 to 15 and 16 through 25. So it makes grading a little bit easier because you can lay it right next to each other. Okay? So grab, did she spell that correctly? Yes. Chop. Fast. Dish. Yes. Yes. That she's got the reversal, but as a classroom teacher, I'm going to just circle that because I want to see if there's a pattern where she's reversing her letters. But it is not wrong. And then I'm going to go ahead and just write the correct word right next to it. Okay, next one is what? Went. I'm going to mark it wrong. I'm going to rewrite it. What letter goes with that? E. Next one is what? Win. Next one is what? Fed. Next one is what? Trip. Next one is what? Rub. Baby wrote what? Rib. We're marking this out. R-U-B. What letter goes with that? A. Next one is fit. And she did erase that S at the end. Okay? So what I want you to go ahead and do is you may not need to go ahead and do this because now she does it in her new book or her new recording sheet. I had to do this for every single one. So I would write A, B, C, D, E. Her recording sheet has this now. I know that you guys, whenever I do trainings, I know I have different learners. There's some that just will listen and try to get all of this in. But I really need to make sure that you guys are practicing these because your iCoaches are coming back and there's a lot of questions. This is the piece that's causing a lot of confusion in our district. So I will respect the fact that many of you guys are kind of sitting back and listening because that's the type of learner that you are, and that's audio learners. And but make sure that you are taking a time to go ahead and do this because as a group we're going to grade all of Mrs. Nelson's class, okay? Because I want us to be able to take this information and group them. So as we go through here, A, B, C, D, now we're going to look at our errors. And I'm going to answer the question my sweet friend over to my left is asking. So next, first one that's wrong is what? Ship. And what letter is that? B. So I'm going to go to the very top of B, and I'm going to tally B. Errors on my tally go on the top. Okay? The next error I have is what? Number 6, which is D, drum. So I'm going to go down to D, and I'm going to tally the error. Next one is number 7. What letter is that? E, so I'm going to tally the E. Number 11 is what letter? C. Next error is mud. What letter? C. Number 20 is what? Went, E. And the last one is rub, A. Okay, so I'll get to that. And so we're here, and so these are all the number of errors, right? So how many words do they have for each pattern? 5. So if I have one wrong, how many correct? 4. For B, how many wrong? 4. For C, or how many right? For C, 3. For D, 4. For E, 3. Okay? So right now, all we're doing is we're looking whether or not the word is spelled wrong or right. That's it right now. Now we're trying to figure where are we going to teach this child? Where are we going to go ahead and teach this child? Now remember earlier this morning, I said to you a score of 0, 1, 2, 3 means that's an area that they need help with, right? And a score of a 4 and 5 indicates mastery. But I also asked you to put on the back of your head that in ELAR, it's never black and white. We have a lot of gray. So that's our starting point, that a 0, 1, 2, 3 indicates that that's a level that we need to go ahead and help our kids. But now we have to double check, based now on their errors, whether or not they need help in that pattern. Okay, so if A scored a 4, do I even need to worry about looking at A? No, because it's a 4 or 5. B, do I need to look at that? No. Oh, C, 3. What is pattern C? Short vowel. So let's look at the ones that our baby, Amazing Grace, made a mistake on. So the first one is hops, and baby wrote thops. But let's look at, because our focus here, even though they got the whole word wrong, did they get the short vowel pattern? Yes. Okay, so we got the short vowel pattern. Let's look at the other one. Mulled to mud. So she made a mistake on the LD, the final digraph blend, but did she get the short vowel pattern? Yes. So even though this says 3, I'm going to put a check mark next to it because Amazing Grace does not need me to help and teach her how to do short vowels because she got that correct. This is the biggest confusion, okay, for our district. When we're doing this, because I hear a lot of but, I get it every single time I do this training, and because you've already moved ahead. But I want you to go ahead and look at that first. You're just going to grade it whether or not it's right or wrong. Did they spell it correctly? That's it. Did they spell it correctly? Yes or no? Once you have the score down low, now go and check your 0, 1, 2s, and 3s to see, do you really need to provide instruction in that pattern? Okay, so when we check C, she doesn't need me to help her with short vowel patterns. Her mistake is on the other parts of the word. And if we keep going, you're going to see the relationship of her mistakes. Even though she made it with those words that have short vowel patterns, what you should see that she's making mistakes on is her final blends and her digraphs, which if we continue will further support that. So let's keep going. So any questions on this part? Number 15, that's a U. That's a U. She initially wrote a no and she erased it. Count it as, no, you still count it as wrong. So the first time you, but that's the second step. First step is just, is it right or is it wrong? Is it right or is it wrong? Okay? First step. So is it right or is it wrong? Because your eye coaches are coming back to me, and I know there's confusion because you've not had the training before. And so you gave the test and you graded it. And so now I'm giving you the training. So we're going to go ahead and be able to fix that. Okay? And so here, we're going to look at D. Do I need to worry about D? No. Do I need to worry about E? Maybe. Maybe. So let's look, because E is your final blends and your final digraphs, right? So let's look at E. Bump. Do they have the MP? No. And do you remember, my friends, over at letter name? Isn't that one of the examples that you guys used? When they were using but confusing the MP, you used that bop instead of bump, or something similar to it. Let's look at another one. What's my other E? Wenth. It's supposed to be just an NT, and they wrote NTH. So does Amazing Grace need me to help her with that? Yes. And if you look at this, you see the PS there. You see the LD there in mold, mud. That's what she's confusing. So remember the steps. Remember the steps. You're going to correct it whether or not it's right or wrong. We're going to do a couple more. You'll be sick of hearing me say that. Right or wrong, and then we go back and we check. Does the student need me to help on this pattern? Question? Mm-hmm. Perfect, thank you. That's my next step. Okay. No, that is actually perfect. Okay, so let me show you the computer-wise, because that's what you guys are going to use, but I'm going to show you on the paper and pencil as well. It's reminding me that I'm at a training today. Okay, so I'm going to put, notice I'm not going to erase the word teacher. I'm simply going to double click on there, and I'm going to put Mrs. Nelson. What grade do we want her to teach? Second? Thank you. Campus, we're just going to put Grand Prairie. Elementary school, and my first student is Amazing Grace. So now I'm going to put in her score exactly as it says on here. Okay, so I'm going to write it in. 4, 4, 3, 4, 3. Yes? Your eye coaches should have worked with you guys, because I walked them through a whole Miss Nelson's class, and I did what's called a bold and red. Bold and red. Bold and red. So because two things are highlighted here, I don't need to work with them at a C. So I'm going to go to my next one, and I'm going to bold and red. So that tells me that's where I need to work with Amazing Grace. Oh, yay. See, aren't you glad you're at training today? Even if it's just that piece. So if I'm doing this part right here, and I'm a paper and pencil girl, y'all, okay, we'll do more. Right now it's like, oh, but we'll do more. Then you'll be like, yeah, whatever, I've got this, leave me alone. Okay, so we're gonna go here. We have Amazing Grace. Although I'm giving you the paper and pencil, you're going to create more work for yourself if you do the paper and pencil rather than the spreadsheet, because the spreadsheet automatically populates, because otherwise you're going to end up having to fill out individual student sheets. Now, if you're a lot like me, I would probably do it on paper first and then go into my computer and do that. You can do that too. So for hers, it's what? 4, 4, 3, 4, 3 for a total of 18. And then I would use my yellow highlighter. Yes. Yeah, there was no way for me. I'm very excited about what I can do on Excel, but in the world of Excel, it's still pretty limited.
So if we did this incorrectly, which I did.
Yes.
I did it incorrectly.
Thank you for being so transparent with
So I'm
me.
gonna go back and look at mine.
Yeah.
And then I just need to go back into my spreadsheet, fold
Yeah.
it red, 'cause I didn't fold it
Yeah.
red anything.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, bold and red. So we're going to go for me now. When I'm looking at this sheet, I'm not going to highlight it. Where I'm going to highlight is where I'm going to start teaching my student. Okay? We'll do one more because I'm trying to read your faces and I have different looks. So, okay, let's look at Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia. How are we doing? How are we feeling? Give me some response back. Good, you're feeling good? Clarifying some things? Okay. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, here we go. Is Jet spelled correctly? We ready to go? Hold on, I'm waiting on a couple of people turning pages, I see. Okay, we're not looking at Amazing Grace back page because that's within Word. I'm now on Amelia Bedelia. I'm now on Amelia Bedelia because we're just doing letter name right now. So I have Jet. Is that spelled correctly? Yes. Ships. No. Some teachers will say, but I see it in there. No. Apostrophe S. So we're going to write it correctly next to it, and the letter B goes right next to that. That looks like a heart, but it's a capital B. Okay? Bet, got, cap, drum, bump. So far, so good, huh? Much, with, map, hop, plan, that. Only one error so far, right? Slid, mud, grab, chop, fast, dish, went, win, fed. Oops. So looks like she's confusing short vowel with a long vowel pattern. Oops, fed. What letter goes with that? A. Trip, rub. Right now we're just checking it off. Is it wrong or is it right? Okay. Rub, and the letter is A, and then fit is spelled correctly. I go to the bottom. I draw my box. You guys probably don't need to do that because you already have it on your sheet. I do A, B, C, D, E, B, A, A. You guys with me so far? Okay. Total of 5. So 2 here. How many here? 3. 1 here, 4. So it's just 5, 5, 5. Okay, so now second step is check. Here's a 3. Does Amelia Bedelia need me to help her with the way that words start out? So let's look at fed. F, F, D, D. Rub, and now you're going to look at this and you're going to go, ooh, an E at the end, but really that's a silent E. So she still has that B there, and so I'm just going to put a check mark. She doesn't need, she's good to go. And plus, what is this total score? 22. A stage score of 20 or above indicates mastery. Okay, so now I go to my computer or my recording sheet. I'm going to put Amelia Bedelia, and my scores are 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, automatically. Am I going to bold and red anything there? No. So she's one that I really need to make sure I test at the next level. Okay, green means test to the next level. Okay, you guys with me so far? Can we do one more and then go to lunch? We'll take an hour and 15 minutes break. get your mind fresh, and then we'll come back and finish the rest of Mrs. Nelson's class. Let's do one more. Who's our next baby? BB Wolf, Big Bad Wolf. Big Bad Wolf is a friend that really needs our help. Okay, so jet. Wrong, right? And that is letter D, ship, bet, got, cap, drum, bump, much, ooh, with. You're going to get to a point about a 5 or 6 of these. You guys are just going to be able to cruise right on through. Map, hop, plan, that, slid, mud, grab, chop, fash. Oh, maybe not so bad. Dish, went, win, fed, trip, rub. What do you notice about BB Wolf? Just even before we even score it, what kind of mistakes is he making? Yep. Those paired vowels, right? He's using but confusing for short vowel. So rub, fed is A, rub is A. Make your A, B, C, D, E. Mark the D, mark the E, 2 A's. Final score is what? 3, 5, 5, 4, 4. Did I go too fast on that one? No, you're good. Oh, sorry about that. It would help if you saw it. Okay, so I had jet. Notice his mistakes. It's the EE with rub, OU, and there's EE. He's using but confusing. Okay, we just marked whether or not it's right or is it wrong. Now we go through. Does BB Wolf need me to help him with the way that words start and end? No. So I'm just going to put a check mark there to remind me so that when I record it, I go to my computer. Ooh, I spelled that wrong. So now I'm going to go ahead and put BB Wolf. I'm going to put the score just as I have it. 3, 5, 5, 4, 4 for a total of 21. Am I going to bold in red anything? No. Yes? Yes. Okay. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay. It is 11:40. Let's come back at 1 o'clock. That gives you an hour and 20 minutes because there's so many of us. So an hour and 20 minutes. Now before you get up and leave, waiting. Wait, before you get up and leave, when you come back, I'm going to give you the next 15 minutes and continue to grade Ms. Nelson's class. Here's a recommendation. The very first time I did this training, I had every teacher do all 18 or all 17. But what I'm recommending for you guys is divide and conquer. Okay, so within your table, you're going to say, can you do the next 2? 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 So you're only doing 2 to 3 within those 15 minutes, okay? So when you get back from lunch at 1, I'm going to give you until about 1:15. Please be here at 1 o'clock. Please be here at 1 o'clock. And we're going to grade for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to show you the overall score for Ms. Nelson's class. Any idea, just on these last 3 that we did, what grade level Mrs. Nelson teaches? Second? Third? Third? First, maybe? No? Second? These are 6th grade.
What?
6th grade students. These were administered to our 5th grade kids going into 6th grade over this summer. And there's more because you only saw 3. It only gets better as we go. I used this initially. I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to show them what they need to look for, and it was a very eye-opening experience. So your role in first, second, third, all the way to fifth is going to be very important. Okay? Have a wonderful lunch. We'll see you at when? 1 o'clock. Yes, you want to?
So because the total is more than 20, we don't mark the first one?
No, we don't mark it because they don't need our help with it. Because, no, because here it's A. If we look at A, the pattern for A is, do they understand initial and final consonants? But if you have a look at it, Baby Wolf doesn't need me to go back and teach him how a word begins and ends because he has it every single time. At the area that, so part of it is the total score, but really we're not doing this because they don't need help. Now, if you look at Amazing Grace also scored a 3, but if you look at it, they got the F and the D and the R and the B. They don't need me to teach them. The pattern. Yes. You're welcome.